Okay, so starting at the top, what is a geometric mean? It's the positive square root between two numbers. I know that might not make a lot of sense to you, but we're going to look at what it means. So the means are the same in proportion. So an example is right here. It has a over x equals x over b. So to solve this, you would just do x times x, which is x squared, equals a times b. And then the last step would be to take the square root of both sides. So x equals square root of ab. Okay, so now we're going to do a couple examples similar to what you'll see on the homework. It says find the geometric mean between each pair of numbers. So for 12 and 3, you would just do 12 over x equals x over 3, and then solve it using cross multiplication. Yes.
I have the wrong paper.
What do you mean?
I gave me the wrong paper.
Okay, so x squared equals 36, so the next step to solve it would be to take the square root of both sides, and x equals 6. And then if you didn't know that square root of 36 was 6, you could use a calculator. Actually, a common question today and yesterday was how to do square root in a calculator. It really depends on the calculator. For this one, it's like this button right here, but depending on the calculator, it'll be in different spots. But make sure you know where it is, square root of 36, and then you get 6. Okay, for the next one, 8 and 4, same thing, just set up the proportion. 8 over x equals x over 4. Use cross multiplication. You get this, square root of both sides. Now you could plug 32 into the calculator and get the decimal version. So square root of 32 is 5 point, I'll round to the 2 decimal places, so 5.66. So x is about 5.66. But sometimes the answer choices aren't in decimal format. It's in like the simplified version that we learned yesterday. So to simplify 32, you could break that up into factors like 4 times square root of 8. Then we get square root of 2. Break up 8, square root of 4 times square root of 2. 2 times 2 times square root of 2. 4 square root of 2. And that is also the answer. So both of these are right. It depends on really what you have in the answer choices. This comes up on SATs too. Sometimes you'll solve something and you get a decimal, and then the answer choices look like this. If that happens, I know this is what I used to do when I was in school too. If I get an answer like this and then all the answer choices look like this, what I would do is just go through the answer choices and plug it in, and then see what equals whatever I got. So if that happens where you get a decimal and the answer choices are like this, just plug it in the calculator and see if it matches whatever you solved for. Okay, so now we're going to do some practice with geometric mean. And for each of these, 4 over x equals x over 4. And we'll just go through and do them all. And for 54, I could simplify it. I'm just going to get the decimal. Okay, so that's all those solved out. So it says right here, what happens when you draw an altitude to the hypotenuse of a right triangle? Okay, so I'm going to draw a right triangle here. I'm going to use something with a 90-degree angle, like Post-it notes, to do this. You could use maybe your ID. I'm just drawing a right triangle like this. Okay, so here's a right triangle. It has a 90-degree angle right here. And it says, what happens when you draw an altitude to the hypotenuse? So we're going to draw the altitude, or the height, right here, of course perpendicular. Okay, so here's what they want to point out to you. When you have an altitude of a right triangle like this, it breaks it up into similar triangles. So there are actually 3 similar triangles here. There is triangle number 1 right here, right triangle. Then we also have triangle number 2. Cool. And then that one, the 90-degree angle would be right here. And then the third one is the entire thing. So this is our third right triangle. And all 3 of these triangles are similar to each other, and you can use that to find lengths within this triangle. So here it says the altitude to the hypotenuse of a right triangle form 2 triangles that are similar to each other and to the original triangle. Okay, ready for the next page? Next, okay, next page at the top, it says examples. Write a similarity statement comparing the triangles. So we have 2 triangles right here. We're going to focus on this one first. When we write a similarity statement, we're going to focus on just like keeping the same process. So if I have a right triangle here and I'm naming the points, we're going to go from short side to medium side to long side, and if we repeat that every single time, we'll get it right every single time. So we're going to go short, medium, long. So for A, maybe just focusing on this little triangle right here, short, so V to Z, medium, and then long, but VZW. VZW, names that one right there. Then another triangle I see is this one over here. And again, short, the medium, WZU. WZU. And then for the entire thing, again, short to medium here, VWU. Okay, for B, same thing. Again, just doing the same process. I'll focus on this little one right here, LMJ. Then I'll do this one. Again, short to medium to long, JMK. And then the larger one, LJK. Okay, next, of course, they're going to bring some theorems in. We have geometric mean and altitude theorem. This is what we just talked about. The length of the altitude to the hypotenuse of a right triangle is the geometric mean of the lengths of the 2 pieces of the base, is what it is. I'm trying to get the exact word they used. Let's see. Hypotenuse. Okay, so what that means is if you look at this, I'm trying to point out the concept too. We have a triangle here. This would be the short side to the medium side of this triangle if we were setting up a ratio. And then over here, you have short to medium if you're setting up a ratio. So we're going to set this up short to medium, so x over h equals short to medium, h over y. And then you can solve this. I know that takes a lot of thinking, and sometimes you will have to really think through it like that, like short to medium and then short to medium, and find those parts. When you have this format, which comes up a lot, something that helps is just like sketch out an arrow. So if you have this format, just x over h equals h over y. And we're going to use that. Okay, so for A, to solve for this length here, I'm going to do 12 over 18 equals 18 over y. Yeah, 12y equals 324. Divide both sides by 12, and y equals 27. So this would be 27. Okay, next, same thing. Again, those arrows kind of help you set it up. 2 over x equals x over 8. Then for C, same thing. So x equals square root of 3, that's the simplest form. The answer of choice might be like that. Or if you found the decimal, it would be 1.73. Both are correct. Okay, moving on to the next page. Trying to find my, here, let me pause this. Okay, so up here we have another theorem, geometric means legs theorem. It's the length of a leg of a right triangle is the geometric mean of the lengths of the hypotenuse and the segment of the hypotenuse adjacent to that leg. And we'll look at what that means. Okay, so looking at the example over here, for this one we're going to focus on A. Where is it? Okay. So we're going to do short to the hypotenuse, or short to long on that triangle, and then short to long on the larger triangle. So x over A equals A over C. And then on the next one, focusing here, the medium side, or the hypotenuse of that one. Okay, so here we have medium to long on that one. This is where it like takes more brain energy, I know. So we have medium to long on that one, and then medium to long here. So y over b equals, that's medium to long, b over c. Okay, so now we're going to do some examples. This is as hard as it gets. We're just going to finish out the page. We have to look at what we have. We're trying to solve for b here. Okay, so looking at this, and sometimes it takes a second, I have medium to long here on this triangle, and then I also have medium to long on the bigger one. So for the smaller one, medium to long. So 16 over b, again, medium to long, and then equals b over that whole length would be 22. And then I can solve. B squared equals 352, and b equals 18.8. Okay, the next one, take a second to look at it and see what you could compare. I see short to long here. And then for the larger triangle, I have short to long here. So I'm going to use that. So in the smaller one, short to long, so 16 over 27 equals 27 over z. Okay, the next one, I was going for the little one, but there's not enough information there. But 8 minus 2 is 6, so this would be 6, and I can probably use that. So then, on this one, I have medium to long, like on this one here. Medium to long. Let me highlight it. Medium to long here. And then on the larger one, medium to long. So for the blue, medium to long, x over 8. Okay, it gets easier from here on out. How does it feel? Hard or easy? Medium? Kind of, I don't know. I feel like it's taken me like 3 or 4 years of teaching this to really get good at it. So however you're feeling, it's okay. Okay. So now it gets easier for these. What we're going to do for this, there's a bunch of missing values. But what we're going to do is start here with this whole process. So you'll notice they have these two values and this x here. So we're going to do the geometric mean here. 5 over x equals x over 2 to solve for x. Okay, so we have the x, and now we're trying to find y and z. we could do this whole process over here over similarity. That would work, but I don't know. Even I have a hard time like figuring out what matches what. So what I would do is actually use Pythagorean theorem, since you know that these are right triangles. So this right here is a right triangle, and I can use Pythagorean theorem to solve for y. So I would do 2 squared plus, we know that this is square root of 10 now, squared equals y squared. That length right there. So 4 plus 10 equals y squared. 14 equals y squared. Square root of 14 for y. And then for z, we know x is square root of 10, so square root of 10 squared plus 5 squared equals z squared. So you get square root of 35, whatever that comes out to. I don't know. Okay, now we repeat. We're going to find the altitude using geometric mean like this. 1 over z equals z over 8. Z squared equals 8. So z equals square root of 8. Okay, now that we have that, we can use Pythagorean theorem here to find the other stuff. So I'm going to find x, 1 squared plus square root of 8 squared equals x squared. 1 plus 8 x equals 3. Okay, cool. And then for y, I guess I really should find the decimal of that, but we're good. Okay, and then the last one, C. I'm going to do the same thing. 6 minus 2 is 4, so this would be 4. And then using geometric mean here, 2 over y equals y over 4. And then use Pythagorean theorem to find the rest. 2 squared plus square root of 8 squared equals x squared. So this is square root of 12. By the way, if you get these, which I'm sure you'll get a couple on the homework, these answers are actually in decimals, so you just plug it in to get the decimal after. And then z square root of 24. And that's it. So on the homework, what, does it look hard? I don't know. Okay, on the homework, if you have questions, please raise your hand and ask. Yeah. Okay, you can get a laptop, get started.